An ambigram is a word, art form or other symbolic representation, whose elements retain meaning when viewed or interpreted from a different direction, perspective, or orientation. The meaning of the ambigram may either change, or remain the same, when viewed or interpreted from different perspectives. Douglas R. Hofstadter describes an ambigram as a calligraphic design that manages to squeeze two different readings into the self-same set of curves. Different ambigram artists may create completely different ambigrams from the same word or words, differing in both style and form. Discovery and popularity. The earliest known non-natural ambigram dates to 1893 by artist Peter Newell. Although better known for his children's books and illustrations for Mark Twain and Lewis Carroll, he published 2 books of invertible illustrations, in which the picture turns into a different image entirely when turned upside down. The last page in his book, Topsies and Turvies, contains the phrase the END, which, when inverted, reads puzzle. In Topsies and Turvies No. 2, Newell ended with a variation on the ambigram in which the END changes into puzzle 2. From June to September, 1908, the British monthly The Strand published a series of ambigrams by different people in its Curiosities column. Of particular interest is the fact that all 4 of the people submitting ambigrams believed them to be a rare property of particular words. Mitchell T. Lavin, whose Chomp was published in June, wrote, "I think it is in the only word in the English language which is this peculiarity," while Clarence Williams wrote, about his bet ambigram, "Possibly B is the only letter of the alphabet that will produce such an interesting anomaly." In 1969, Raymond Loewy designed the rotational new MAN ambigram logo, which is still in use today. The mirror ambigram DeLorean Motor Company logo was first used in 1975. John Langdon and Scott Kim also each believed that they had invented ambigrams in the 1970s. Langdon and Kim are probably the 2 artists who have been most responsible for the popularization of ambigrams. John Langdon produced the first mirror image logo Starship in 1975. Robert Petrick, who designed the invertible angel logo in 1976, was also an early influencer of ambigrams. The earliest known published reference to the term ambigram was by Hofstadter, who attributed the origin of the word to conversations among a small group of friends during 1983–1984. The original 1979 edition of Hofstadter's Gar Paragraph Del Escher Bach featured 2 3D ambigrams on the cover. Ambigrams became more popular as a result of Dan Brown incorporating John Langdon's designs into the plot of his bestseller, Angels and Demons, and the DVD release of the Angels and Demons movie contains a bonus chapter called This is an Ambigram. Langdon also produced the ambigram that was used for some versions of the book's cover. Brown used the name Robert Langdon for the hero in his novels as an homage to John Langdon. In music, the Grateful Dead have used ambigrams several times, including on their albums Axomic Show and American Beauty. In the first series of the British show Trick or Treat, the show's host and creator Derren Brown uses cards with rotational ambigrams. These cards can read either trick or treat. Although the words spelled by most ambigrams are relatively short in length, one DVD cover for the Princess Bride movie creates a rotational ambigram out of 2 words, Princess Bride, whether viewed right side up or upside down. The Transformers movie series have logos that are a robot face whether viewed right side up or upside down. There are 2 such logos, one for an Autobot, and one for a Decepticon. Types: ambigrams are exercises in graphic design that play with optical illusions, symmetry and visual perception. Some ambigrams feature a relationship between their form and their content. Ambigrams usually fall into one of several categories: 3-dimensional, a design where an object is presented that will appear to read several letters or words when viewed from different angles. Such designs can be generated using constructive solid geometry. Chain, a design where a word are interlinked, forming a repeating chain. Letters are usually overlapped, meaning that a word will start partway through another word. Sometimes chain ambigrams are presented in the form of a circle. Figure ground, a design in which the spaces between the letters of one word form another word. Fractal, a version of space-filling ambigrams where the tiled word branches from itself and then shrinks in a self-similar manner, forming a fractal. See Scott Kim's fractal of the word tree for an animated example. Mirror image, a design that can be read when reflected in a mirror, usually as the same word or phrase both ways. Ambigrams that form different words when viewed in the mirror are also known as glass door ambigrams, because they can be printed on a glass door to be read differently when entering or exiting. Multi-Lingual, an ambigram that can be read one way in one language and another way in a different language. Multi-lingual ambigrams can exist in all of the various styles of ambigrams, with multi-lingual perceptual shift ambigrams being particularly striking. Natural. A natural ambigram is a word that possesses one or more of the above symmetries when written in its natural state, requiring no typographic styling. For example, the words dollop, sons, and pod form natural rotational ambigrams. In Korean, e-cube degree and e form a natural rotational ambigram. In some fonts, the word swims forms a natural rotational ambigram. The word bud forms a natural mirror ambigram when reflected over a vertical axis. The words choice and oxide, in all capitals, form natural mirror ambigrams when reflected over a horizontal axis. The longest such word is checkbook. The word tooth, in all capitals, forms a natural mirror ambigram when its letters are stacked vertically and reflected over a vertical axis. See the article Transformation of Text for a discussion of letter symmetry. Perceptual shift, a design with no symmetry but can be read as two different words depending on how the curves of the letters are interpreted. Rotational, a design that presents several instances of words when rotated through a fixed angle. This is usually 180 degrees, but rotational ambigrams of other angles exist, for example 90 or 45 degrees. The word spelled out from the alternative direction, S, is often the same, but may be a different word to the initially presented form. A simple example is the lowercase abbreviation for down, DN, which looks like the lowercase word up when rotated 180 degrees. Space filling, similar to chain ambigrams, but tiled to fill the two-dimensional plane. Spinonym, an ambigram in which all the letters are made of the same glyph, possibly rotated and/or inverted. Web is an example of a word that can easily be made into a spinonym. Previously called rotoglyphs or rotaglyphs. Symbiotogram, an ambigram that, when rotated 180 degrees, can be read as a different word to the original, for example, swoop and dooms. Creating ambigrams, there are no universal guidelines for creating ambigrams, and there are different ways of approaching problems. A number of books suggest methods for creation. Computerized methods to automatically create ambigrams have been developed. The earliest, the Abimatic created in 1996, was letter-based and used a database of 351 letter glyphs in which each letter was mapped to another. This generator could only map a word to itself or to another word that was the same length. Because of this, most of the generated ambigrams were of poor quality. In 2007, software developer Mark Hunter developed the Ambigram Generator at flipscript.com. It uses a more complex method of creating ambigrams, with a database containing more than 5 million curves, and multiple lettering styles. Other names, ambigrams have also been called, among other things, vertical palindromes, designatures, inversions. See also, anagram, gar paragraph del, Escher, Bach by Douglas Hofstadter, mirror writing, palindrome, strobogrammatic number, Gustav Verbeek. References. Further reading, Borgman, Dmitri A., Language on Vacation, An Olio of Orthographical Oddities, Charles Scribner's Sons, Kim, Scott, Inversions, A Catalogue of Calligraphic Cartwheels, Byte Books, Hofstadter, Douglas R., Metafont, Metamathematics, and Metaphysics. Comments on Donald Knuth's article The Concept of a Meta-Font Scientific American, Langdon, John, Wordplay, Ambigrams and Reflections on the Art of Ambigrams, Harcourt Brace, Hofstadter, Douglas R., Ambigramy, Un microcosmo ideal per lo studio della creatività, Hofalmonster Editor Firenze, Polster, Burkhardt, Les Ambigrams l'art de Sima Copyright Les Mots, Editions Écritex des, Polster, Burkhardt, I Twisters, Ambigrams, Escher. and illusions, Polster, Burkhardt, I-twisters, ambigrams, and other visual puzzles to amaze and entertain, Constable, Prokhorov, Nikita, Ambigrams Revealed, a graphic designer's guide to creating typographic art using optical illusions, symmetry, and visual perception. New riders. External links, Ambigrams at DMOZ, Ambigrams and Design, by Club of Feria.